Imagine giving everything you have to people who swore they would never leave, only to watch them vanish the moment life got heavy. Imagine the sting of silence when the phone never rings, when the messages stop, when you realize the people you carried on your shoulders never intended to carry you back. Imagine standing in a room full of memories, yet feeling like a ghost in your own life. That was me. Everyone I trusted disappeared. Friends, family, lovers. They didn't just walk away, they turned their backs, and I was left staring at shadows, asking myself how I could have been so blind. The worst part wasn't the loss itself, it was the voice that echoed inside. If they left, maybe it's because you're not worth staying for. And I believed it. For too long, I believed it. I begged, I bent, I shrank myself just to keep people around. I said yes when I wanted to scream no. I carried weights that weren't mine to carry, and still, they left. And when they did, I collapsed. Nights bled into mornings, mornings bled into nights, and I couldn't tell if I was surviving or just slowly dying inside. But here's a truth no one wants to admit. When everyone turns their back on you, they hand you the cruelest, most powerful gift. They force you to meet the one person you've been running from your whole life, yourself. And meeting yourself is terrifying, because there are no masks left, no excuses, no distractions, just you, your pain, your reflection, the brutal truth that no one is coming to save you. That realization broke me open, and in that breaking I made a choice. Not a loud, heroic choice, a quiet, desperate choice. I decided my pain wouldn't bury me, it would build me. The same weight that crushed me would be the weight I'd use to grow stronger. If the world turned its back on me, I would face forward and never turn back again. So I started rebuilding, alone, in silence, with no applause, no comfort, no one watching. It was brutal, but it was real. I stopped chasing people who didn't care. I stopped waiting for apologies that were never coming. I stopped explaining myself to those committed to misunderstanding me. Instead, I chose me. I built discipline when I had no motivation. I built strength when all I felt was weakness. I built habits in the dark, knowing one day the light would reveal them. Every rep, every choice, every step was a declaration. I am not done. I will not stay broken. And slowly, I rose. The higher I climbed, the smaller they looked behind me. The people who left weren't my foundation. They were my cage. Their absence wasn't my ending. It was my beginning. Now, when I look back, I don't see betrayal. I see freedom. I don't see abandonment. I see space. Space to grow, space to build, space to become the version of myself I was always meant to be. Because once you rise out of pain, you become untouchable. They can't hurt you anymore. They already tried, and you survived. Everyone turned their back on me. And for a long time, I thought that meant I was worthless. But now I see the truth. It meant I was unstoppable. Because when you learn to turn pain into power, you don't just rebuild a life, you build an empire. One they'll never be part of again. So if you're here, drowning in silence, wondering why they left, wondering why you're alone, stop asking why, let them go, let them turn their backs, because the moment you stop chasing people who walked away, your hands are finally free to build the life you deserve. And when you finish building it, when you stand in the life you created from nothing, you won't be bitter, you'll be grateful, because their betrayal wasn't the end of you, it was the beginning of the strongest version of you. Everyone turned their back on me, but I didn't stay broken. I turned my pain into power, and you can too. There's a certain kind of silence that doesn't just fill the room, it fills your chest, it tightens around your ribs and whispers, no one is coming. That silence was my companion. I woke up to it, I fell asleep with it. It followed me into crowded rooms, into conversations where I smiled on the outside, but screamed on the inside. I tried to drown it out with distractions, endless scrolling, empty conversations, promises to myself that tomorrow will be better. But tomorrow came, and it looked exactly like yesterday. And after a while, the silence became louder than any noise I could create. I started to believe the silence. I started to believe that maybe I really wasn't worth staying for, that maybe I was destined to be the background character in everyone else's life story, never the main one in my own. And that thought, it crushed me. But here's what I didn't realize at the time. Silence isn't just absence, it's space. And in that space, the truth finally has room to speak. And the truth was this. I had given everyone else the pen to write my story. I let their approval define me. I let their opinions shape me. I let their love, or lack of it, dictate how I saw myself. And when they left, they didn't just walk away. They walked away with the story I thought was mine. That realization cut deeper than the abandonment itself, because it meant I had been living borrowed lives, wearing borrowed masks, chasing borrowed dreams, and for what? For people who didn't have the capacity to see me, much less stay for me. So I made a choice, a hard one, a terrifying one. I took the pen back, And when you take the pen back, when you decide to stop waiting for someone else to write your ending, you begin to see possibility where before there was only pain. It wasn't glamorous. No one clapped. No one posted about it. No one cared. It was just me, alone in my room, making promises to myself, tiny promises. I will wake up early. I will not chase. I will work when no one is watching. At first they seemed meaningless, but over time they became bricks. And brick by brick I started to rebuild. I built discipline, waking up before my body wanted to, showing up when my mind screamed to quit. I built strength, rep after rep, not for validation, but to prove to myself that I could endure. I built clarity. Journaling, writing, confronting thoughts I had buried for years. It was slow, painfully slow, but healing always is. And then something strange happened. The silence that once haunted me started to feel different. It wasn't empty anymore. It was full of my own voice, my own presence, my own strength. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of being alone. I was proud of it, because alone is where you learn the truth. Alone is where you discover the power you always had. Alone is where you realize you don't need them. You never did. Now, when I look back, I don't see abandonment as the end. I see it as the gift that started everything. If they hadn't turned their backs, I would still be lost in their shadows. If they hadn't walked away, I would never have learned to stand on my own. If they hadn't left me with nothing, I would never have built everything I have now. Everyone turned their back on me, and for a while I thought that meant I was broken beyond repair. But now I see the truth. It meant I was being forced to rise, forced to build, forced to meet the version of myself that only pain could unlock. And that version is unstoppable.